Yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love.
Hello everyone and welcome to round 4 of the UK and Ireland Radical Championship. I'm Yusuf Milky, Serial bin Sahel. Almost forgot my name for a second. And I'm joined by our new mascot. It's a lion. Does not yet have a name. Names are currently being determined over on my Twitter account. So make sure to go give some love to the lion. Apparently Maddie the lion is one of the current names going for it. But enough about lion. Just say hello to the lion and the lion will bless your day. Now, we're heading to Road Atlanta for the 4th round of the championship. And as you may start to hear, there's engine sounds because cars are on their circuit. Road Atlanta, 12 corner track, 2.5 mile long here at Braselton in Georgia in the United States of America. So without any further ado, let's jump right on into the track for the final few minutes of qualifying and discuss a little bit about the Road America circuit and what we can expect to see at, well, what is one of the iconic circuits over in America alongside, you know, the likes of Daytona, Indianapolis, Sebring, and you have Road America to pair alongside it. Currently, we're taking a look at Simon Morpe, who is making his way through the final chicane to come and begin his hot lap. So, let's ride on board then with Simon Morpe and see what he can pull out. His current best is a 15.4. So, turn 1, dropping it down into 4th gear, back on the power. Could have used up more track, but pull the car back over to the right-hand side as you make your way up the hill and down into turns 2 and 3. And then you make your way through the S's, which is all just one longer corner, really. Down into turn 5, and you can see the front end wants to understeer out. You can use up all of that extra tarmac on the outside of the circuit. Now down into 6 and 7. My personal favorite part of the circuit. 4th gear down to 3rd. Drop it down now into 2nd for what is the slowest part of the track, in my opinion. I'm not quite sure if the chicane is even slower. Either way, out of turn 7, through the kink of 8, and up the hill. You want to let the car out all the way to the right-hand side of the track. And then you're going to hold it tight through the kink of turn 9 and down into turns 10A and 10B. Nice and late on the brakes. Dropping it down into 3rd gear, back on the power, using up as much of the track as you can. And then it's a blind turn-in for turn 11. You cannot see the apex at all. Completely flat through turn 12. The only hint of a lift was the upshift we made up into 6th gear. And then you start your whole lap all over again. But here at Road Atlanta, a difficult circuit to be fair. But let's see what the drivers will be able to pull out. Main overtaking zones down into turn 1, as Dominic Lang-Webb will be making his way down towards the turn 1 now. Turn 10 after the long back straight, which is the longest straight on the circuit. You're coming out of a slow corner, turn 7, hard braking zone down into a turn 10. Whereas unlike turn 1, you're coming out of a high-speed final corner into a fairly high-speed turn 1. So not really much opportunity to really send it up the inside. But down into turn 10, you most certainly can find a move. Another opportunity is at the end of this entire complex. You head down into turn 6. And there's going to be one place where drivers might be able to find a way through, because very easy to make a mistake through turn 5. And that can find yourself being compromised on the run down into turn 6 and 7. Then, as we mentioned, your other overtaking point is this here. Long straight through the sweeping turns 8 and turn 9. They are just kinks, just bends at the most. And then hard braking down into the final chicane. Just 40 seconds remaining of practice before we get underway for qualifying. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the way the session works, the way things will be running here for the UK and Ireland Radical Series is we have 3 laps of qualifying. It takes about 10 minutes in total. And it will be seeing the drivers in their own individual qualifying session. So no drivers can compromise another driver's lap time. And it's all about the drivers and the track. Nothing else, no distractions whatsoever. and then we will be heading into a short race. Just one race right to the end, one sprint race, and that will determine proceedings and the final results here at Road Atlanta. As always, make sure to get your comments going in the, or not the Twitch chat, in the YouTube chat. Would be absolutely fantastic to hear from all of you, and just let me know really who you are here to support, etc, etc. Whether you're here just, you know, as a family or friend of a driver just to see how they're getting on, or whether you want to keep more of an eye just on the racing itself, and if you're more of a neutral fan. So Simon Edwards was the man who topped the qualifying tables, or the practice tables I should say. And now we will see whether he can do the same thing during the race. I'm actually going to jump into the Discord of voice and deafen myself, so hopefully come the end of the race we can have some interviews with our top few drivers. Now, actually, I don't want to ride on board with Simon Edwards. He's quick. I want to ride on board with John McCutcheon, because this man is a man who, if I'm not mistaken, is leading the championship. And I think he's pushing. He is on a lap. No, he's not on a lap. He's on his out lap, I think. I'm just trying to see who is on a lap. Dominic Langweb. Dominic Langweb has started. He's making his way through turns 3 and 4. And now down the hill, completely flat. Listen. No lift coming through until the braking zone for turn 5. Very hard sometimes to be able to have faith in the car to keep it flat all the way through the sequence of corners. But if you want to be finding that ultimate time, you really have to. Down into turn 6, that front end bites so well in the radicals. Understeer though into turn 7, just carrying a bit too much speed, turning in a little bit too late. It does compromise the number 8 car. Now on the long back straight, a time to rest, a time to relax, to gather your thoughts. Maybe consider mistakes that you've currently made in the lap, or think about how you want to be approaching this chicane, the chicane of turn 10. 10A and 10B. The only time I've seen on a track an A and B corner, but here we go. Road Atlanta doing things differently through 11 and 12. And let's see what the lap time is for Dominic Lang-Webb. Chris Kane jumped to the top with a 16.6. Dominic Lang-Webb with a 15.7, and Paul Crabb puts in a 14.8. Let's see what John McCutcheon is up to. He's making his way up the back straight now, and well, if the likes of Paul Crabb has put in a 14.8, John McCutcheon would probably be expecting him to be putting in something around a 14.4, maybe even a little bit quicker, but we'll see. Down into turns 10A and 10B, John McCutcheon with that silver livery as always, repping that Scottish flag on the front. He's got his hutch on the back, and the hutch will make his way across the line, a 1:14.887, 600th shy of what Paul Crabb was able to pull out. And what's Martin Booker up to? Martin Booker making his way through the final couple of corners. Quick driver is Martin Booker in the red and a black striped radical across the line, 15.9 P6. What about Simon Edwards though? He put in a 1:15.5 on his first lap, but it was invalidated. He'll be looking to improve upon that time. And maybe sneak it down into the 14s. Then across the line for Simon Edwards, it's a 15.290. That's a P3. Now, Paul Crabb, this man here, just jumped to the top of the timing sheets with a 14.395. And we do know in the radicals that the tyres do take some time to get up to heat. So that first lap is unlikely to be the quickest lap. Your quickest lap should be on the second or third lap. Now let's see whether Paul Crabb can improve upon that 14.395 as he makes his way down into the double right-hander of turn 6 and 7. At the moment, seems so far so good. We can't see any sector time, so we don't really know, as John McCutcheon just pumps in a 14.223 to jump 1/10 clear of Paul Crabb. What's Frankie Dixon up to? He's a little bit behind Paul Crabb, as Paul Clark just pumps in a 14.874, jumping himself up to P3. James Child still out on circuit, same for Gavin Marsden. But for now, eyes are on Paul Crabb as he makes his way through the final corner. He needs to find nearly 0.2 of a second, and he doesn't. A 14.871, and not what he would have wanted. Simon Edwards just pumps in a 14.937. Where is John McCutcheon? He's on the back straight now. Paul Clark a little bit further back. What about Frankie Dixon? Frankie Dixon just pumping in a 14.765 up to P3. So it's on Paul Clark and John McCutcheon. Paul Clark a little bit further behind on circuit than the Hutch. So let's ride on board with the Scotsman as he makes his way through turn 12. 14.223 is his current PB, and he puts in a 14.170. It's invalidated though, so it will not count. But here comes Paul Clark through the final couple of corners. And crosses the line, a 14.974, 10th shy. What about Paul Crabb? Does he have any more time left to give? Taking as much curb as he dares through turn at 10B. Has to be careful of an invalidation. Through the double right-hander. Paul Crabb, can he improve by one position from P2 up to provisional pole? And he cannot. It's a 14.887. Patrick Charlton pumps in a 14.660. That's P3 for him. What about Dominic Langweb? He's currently down in P10. We usually expect more from the Aston Martin or the Jaguar themed livery. Hey, Cassidy. Cassidy says that they weren't here last week as they were racing themselves. Oh, what were you racing? Dominic Langweb, though, is currently racing his personal best time of a 15.3. He needs to find it 0.3. He wants to jump ahead of Daryl Taylor. Might also have to keep an eye on this man right here, James Child. It's James Child. 15.7 so far, but we might still see him improved. He's a little bit behind Dominic Langweb, so we'll stick with Mr. DLM until this lap is completed. Across the line then, isn't it improvement? Yes, 14.8, good stuff. What about James Child though? Round the final corner, is it in the 14s? It's a 15.4, that's enough for P11. And actually the 14.8 from Dominic Langweb was actually invalidated as Richard Brown in the neon green colours. Oh, Junior Pro Kart. Awesome. Whereabouts were you racing? I would assume Rowra, because I know Chris Kane is a Scotsman. And I am assuming, as you are one of his students, you're a Scotsman as well. Or a Scotswoman. So I would assume Rowra, because that's the only track. I'm just trying to think, what are the other karting tracks very far up north? It could be the likes of Teesside, I guess. Or Warden Law. What other tracks in Scotland? I know there's one really big circuit in Scotland, but I don't know what it's called. It got remodeled like 5 years back. But aside from, I can't remember what it's called. To save my life. But I know it's supposed to be a very nice track indeed. But there you go, ladies and gents. That is qualifying done and dusted. John McCutcheon on the front row of the grid from Paul Crabb and Patrick Charlton. Frankie Dixon in P4 ahead of James Child and Paul Clark. Simon Edwards in P7 ahead of Martin Booker. Richard Brown and Daryl Taylor completing the top 10. Dominic Langweb P11 ahead of Simon Morpe. Andrew Hugel. Dave Kirkman in P14 ahead of Chris Bassett. Jack James lines up in P16 ahead of Ray Peasley, Chris Kane, Jamie Bird and Phil Glover complete the top 20. And then You have Dave Dowson in P21 ahead of Fiona Siddons, Gavin Marsden in P23, and then you have Christopher Keeble and Matt Witheridge, the latter two unable to complete his lap. No way, Cassidy! Red Lodge is my home circuit. I grew up racing on Red Lodge. What are the chances? What are the chances? Oh, I actually somewhat can't believe that. The Monaco of, what should I say? The Monaco of karting tracks, according to some, because they think it's very hard to overtake. I just say you need to understand the circuit better. It needs to be a home circuit. Then you learn all the nooks and crannies. Wait, it's the Thursday evening. Is that Junior Pro Kart? Is that the Arrive and Drive series at Red Lodge then, Cassidy? Because I know they have a few Arrive and Drive series. I can't remember what they call it. Club, was it Club 200 or Club 1000? I can't remember. But I know they had a series that I once raced in. And didn't do particularly well because the karts weren't the most even of karts there. Either way, I guess it is time to focus on the circuit. John McCutcheon, Paul Crabb, two drivers that we are somewhat accustomed, let's be honest, to be seeing right at the front of the circuit. Patrick Charlton, Frankie Dixon putting in some fantastic times to put themselves on to the second row of the grid. And then you got James Child in P5. Now, the revs are rising and we are ready to get underway. I don't know where John McCutcheon's car is, but it is a Paul Crabb off the lights fantastically. And Patrick Charlton leads the way. Paul Crabb actually dropping completely down the order. That was not good at the start whatsoever, but Patrick Charlton leads from James Child and Frankie Dixon as they make their way up the hill, down or up towards turns 3 and 4. And Frankie Dixon on the tail of Simon Edwards. Frankie Dixon in the number 10, the light blue and white Radical. And I have no idea what has happened to John McCutcheon, but that is a huge blow for him, not just for the race, but for the championship as well, as here comes James Child on the outside of Patrick Charlton, on the brakes, down into turn 6, round the outside goes Patrick Charlton, and he pulls off the move as well. Or pardon me, James Child pulls off the move and moves up into the lead of the race. As Frankie Dixon watches all of this unfold from third position. And here comes Frankie Dixon outside of the kink of turn 9, but we'll have the inside down into turn 10. Could even have a little look at James the Child as well. We're riding on board now with Simon Edwards, who's watching all of this unfold up ahead. As you see Frankie Dixon maybe just running a tad wide on corner exit, but it will not compromise their exit speed. And Patrick Charlton drops down to P3. Honestly, if I didn't know any better, I'd say that Patrick Charlton does seem to be losing a fair amount of speed on the straights, and I do wonder maybe he's got a more high downforce setup, but I don't think you can adjust downforce in the radicals. I may be mistaken, but I'm not sure if there is a wing angle that you can adjust. I guess they have rear wings, so that could be adjusted. As Paul Crabb, the man who technically started in the lead of the race, as John McCutcheon couldn't make it to the grid in time. And Paul Crabb had a terrible, terrible getaway, dropping all the way down to P5. And now trying to work his way up the order. I tell you what, Martin Booker is right on the back of Paul Clark, who looks to have a little bit of damage on the rear bumper. Very late on the brakes from Paul Clark, and Martin Booker, actually, that being said, almost running in to the back of Mr. Clark. Runs a bit wide on the corner exit. So this is Richard Brown down in P8. But I do want to keep an eye on this man, Paul Crabb, because I think he's going to be working his way up the order. And first on his list is Simon Edwards as they make their way up towards turn 3. Through turn 4. And then apparently what should be turns 5 and 6 is not a corner according to the track map. So just through the S's and down into the braking zone of turn 5. So far, no way through for Paul Crabb, but he's getting very close, and he'll look for the inside as they make their way down into turn 6, but he has to back out, swap back in behind the 52 car. One good thing for Paul Crabb here is the fact that Patrick Charlton is not really pulling too far away from Simon Edwards. There is a gap starting to form. We're talking about 7/10 at the moment, but it's not a huge gap. As that's Dave Kirkman in the background, who is right on the tail of Chris Bassett as they make their way down the back straight towards the turn 10. Too far back to look for a lunge. So we're looking at the 222 of Daryl Taylor. And up ahead, that looks to be Martin Booker, I think, having a little look at Paul Clark. Too far back to have a go. 72 has to hold on to his P7 spot for now. Didn't look to be the best exit from Paul Clark, but again, there is definitely some damage on the rear end of the 24 car. You can just see that the rear bumper isn't straight. When you look at the rear bumper of the 72, it's a perfectly straight, perfectly horizontal. You look at the rear bumper of the 24 car, and well, let's just say it's not straight, and I'll just give a demonstration so that everyone can see it clearly. Bent, straight. Martin Booker does not have damage, Paul Clark does. Oh, look at this, Simon Edwards and Patrick Charlton side by side then. Patrick Charlton on the outside, Simon Edwards down the inside, picks up the move but runs wide on the exit of turn 10. And that will compromise him through 10B. Patrick Charlton tries to squeeze his nose down the inside through 11, but Simon Edwards slams the door shut in his face. And Paul Crabb has to watch all of this unfold as he just waits for an opportunity to present itself so he can sneak his way up into P4. While all of this is going on, James Child is really on the rear end of Frankie Dixon. So many battles and too few cameras. 5-way battle for the lead, and then you've got Martin Booker currently leading the way in P6, which is an absolute chain of cars that leads all the way down to Simon Morpe in P14. So honestly, who finishes P6 could be absolutely anyone's guess. We're on lap 5 of 20. As here comes James Child looking down the inside of Frankie Dixon as they make their way down the hill. Can Simon Edwards join into the party? I think he's just going to have to sit back for now as James Child clambers his way up into the lead of the race. Will he find himself compromised on exit? We've seen it happen to people before. Frankie Dixon just shows his nose somewhat into the final corner, but Simon Edwards wants to show his nose down into turn 1. Frankie Dixon has none of it, puts his nose down the inside of James Child instead. And the top two switching position every couple of corners. Might as well be a karting race at the moment. Just like the cadets, and nose to tail, but then again in cadets, they tend to stay nose to tail for the entire race, and then on the last lap, they go absolutely bonkers. Frankie Dixon leads the way from James Child, Simon Edwards, Patrick Charlton and Paul Crabb down in P5. Paul Crabb, who started the race in second and what became the lead of the race really when John McCutchinson was unable to join the server in time. And Paul Crabb arguably should be leading this train. But it's actually Frankie Dixon, although that might all change as James Child goes down the inside, puff of smoke as the front left locks up, but James Child gets the job done, reclaims the lead once again. Now Frankie Dixon, can Frankie Dixon pull off the exact same move they did just one lap ago as we're seeing Paul Crabb running side by side with Patrick Charlton. And actually this time it's the 52 of Simon Edwards who goes down the inside of Frankie Dixon. We know that Simon Edwards wanted to pull that off last time round, but Frankie Dixon was aggressive enough to slam the door shut as quickly as possible. What place is Chris Kane, asks Cassidy. Chris is right here, down in P15 at the moment. He's 5 seconds behind Simon Morpe. He's got Jamie Bird just 1 second behind him. But back up at the front, Frankie Dixon. Still hot on the heels of Simon Edwards. Paul Crabb has actually dropped back from Patrick Charlton after his failed attempt at an overtake through turn at 12 last time round. And I tell you what, at the rate that this is going, I might have to hold that thought as here comes Simon Edwards looking to take the lead for the first time this race. Simon Edwards down the inside of James Child. Straightforward textbook move. We've already seen it a couple of times today. And I doubt that will be the last time we'll see someone putting their radical down the inside of the final corner. Oh, dearie me, what has happened to Paul Crabb? We're actually just going to have a little rewind. Okay, lock up into the final corner. Compromised. Loses 2 positions. Pretty standard stuff. Okay, you know what? I want to ride on board with this man right here. Patrick Charlton, because this man has a grandstand view of the battle that is unfolding up ahead. He has a little moment on the exit of a turn of 5. He'll drop a bit further back. He's 6/10ths behind. It needs to be careful because if he drops any further back, he won't really be picking up any slipstream from these 3 up ahead of him. Simon Edwards from James Child, Frankie Dixon, those are your top 3. Here comes James Child closing in on Simon Edwards as they make their way down into the chicane. But James Child will just lift off nice and early, maybe even save a bit of fuel in the process. Wait, is that the Club 100 sticker? It is. James Child is a fellow Club 100 driver. All right, Mr. James Child. For those who don't know, Club 100 is the it's the arrive and drive karting series that takes place across the country. And we're not talking about standard pro karts, we're talking about the road taxis, the 2-stroke karts. Actually, this would be a perfect time to mention that this stream is being brought to you by HPE Automotive and Hi-Fi Lounge. We thank both of the companies for their patronage. And if you want to find out more about the companies, there are links to both websites in the description. You can find out more about the work that they do. And maybe if you want to get any services done by them. As in the background, I think I just saw... I'm really sorry about this, guys. I don't know how bad the quality is. There's like nothing being downloaded by my family in other parts of the house. Everything has just kind of died. Honestly, I can't do anything except for apologize for the stream quality. Because from the stats that I'm seeing, this looks like it's kind of unwatchable. Either way, I will do my absolute best to commentate over the remainder of the race. We have 8 minutes remaining, and somehow Dominic Langweb has made his way up to P3 while I've been gone, and James Child is still hunting down Simon Edwards. Martin Booker has dropped down to P4. Patrick Charlton down to P22, so I'm not quite sure what has happened to Mr. Charlton to have seen him drop that far down the order. It seems that the stream quality is slowly coming back. Riding on board now with Darrell Taylor. Riding in P13. It's got Jack James and Jamie Bird up ahead. No worries about it, Andrew. Well, I mean, I can't really speak for anyone else. I don't know if you took anyone out. I don't think you did. This is Gavin Marsden, who is hot on the heels of Fiona Siddon. Gavin Marsden in that absolutely fantastic Williams liveried car. This is the battle for P20. And 3 seconds behind them is Patrick Charlton. I do wonder if there is any damage to Patrick Charlton's car. Tell you what, Gavin Marsden is somewhat struggling right now, it does seem. I wonder, maybe Fiona Siddon's just found a way through on the 00 car of Gavin Marsden. That very well might be the case. Frankie Dixon is on the back of Richard Brown. Remember, Frankie Dixon was in the battle for the lead at one point. And Richard Brown absolutely sending his Radical into turn 1. Nearly sideways. It is sideways on the exit of turn 3. And that is not what Frankie Dixon, or not what Richard Brown needed. And they're going to drop right down the order. How far? We'll just have to wait and see. That is Chris Kane that has just driven past. Now up to P14, 1 second behind Ray Peasley. How's Dave Kirkman doing? He's dropped down to P18, and he's on the back of Dave Dowson now as they make their way through the S's and down into turn 5. Oh, and that was Dave Dowson losing the back end. I just want to rewind and see if there was any contact between the two of them. Let's get the old chase camera up. No, it was just Dave Dowson losing the rear end. Jack James on the back of it, Jamie Bird. You can see there's a little bit of damage to the rear end of Jamie Bird's Radical. Again, you can see that that rear bumper not perfectly horizontal like it is for Jack James, who we're currently riding on board with. Oh no, Jack James has lost a back end. Where's Ray Peasley? Ray Peasley will not make contact. What about Chris Kane? Oh, that was close for Chris Kane. And actually, you can see he's damaged his front left wing mirror. Is there damage to the front left wheel? I think there is. Chris Kane has damage so late on in the race. You can see the front left wheel is just not quite... Oh, dearie, dearie me. Yeah, there's a damage. He just clipped it. And I think it has damaged the front toe of the car. And you can see Jack James is closing in at a vast rate of knots onto Chris Kane. Not really affecting Chris Kane too much in the straights, but in the corners it's going to be affecting him by a huge amount. Jack James was 2.5 seconds behind. And on the exit of the corner, we'll see what the gap is now. 1.6 seconds. Oh, Chris Kane is going to have to nurse the car home. Oh, that is terrible to hear, Cassidy. I most certainly will do. Chris usually looks back at the stream chat, so I'm sure he will see your message. Meanwhile, back at the front, James Child is on the rear end of Simon Edwards. But James Child going to sit behind, and is this a case of wanting to be the man in P2 on the final lap of the race? P2 usually better than P1, especially when you've got such a long straight into the final chicane. 2.5 minutes remaining, and James Child settles for P2 for now. Into 2. Oh, and so much more curb being used by James Child. I just wonder if he saved his tyres slightly more than Simon Edwards has. Has to have a little lift down into the S's. And that's not something he'll want to be doing in the final lap. His run through turn 3 seems absolutely phenomenal. But the exit from turn 3 is not what matters. You want to be getting the exit from here. Turn 6 and turn 7. There's a back marker up ahead. Hopefully it won't play any effect. And you can see the exit speed just a little bit better for Simon Edwards. Just able to use slightly more track. This is where you need to get the exit, because it's this run into the final chicane where you need to pull off a move. It's the last real overtaking option. And we are about to head into the final lap of the race. James Child, hot on the heels of Simon Edwards. It's a two-way battle for the lead. Dominic Langweb a further 5 seconds behind. Does Simon Edwards have what it takes? Can they hold on to the race lead just one lap longer? I think we have 2 more laps. We have crossed the finish line with 1 minute 16 to spare. And it's only 1 minute 15 for a lap. So right on that bubble we were. Nope, never mind. It is the final lap of the race. Final lap, ladies and gents. James Child on Simon Edwards. Oh, not quite using all the track is James Child, but this is it. Turn 6 and turn 7. This is where you have to get the perfect exit into 6. It's nice and clean for James Child, but you can just see Simon Edwards using that little bit more track, bit of understeer mid-apex, and has to countersteer for the oversteer on exit. I think Simon Edwards has this one. The one lap James Child had to nail it, and James Child, too greedy on the throttle, makes a slight mistake, and Simon Edwards is it clear to pick up the win. Simon Edwards just has to keep it clean through the chicane. 4 corners remaining, 10A, 10B, all nice and clean for the Red Radical. Into the blind apex of turn 12, or turn 11, and through turn 12, Simon Edwards will take his first win of the season. Head of James Child, Dominic Langweb will come home in P3, with Martin Booker hot on his heels. Paul Crabb takes a P5, and Chris Bassett a lonely P6, 7 seconds behind the 64 car. Frankie Dixon, what went wrong for Frankie, I do not know. And Paul Clark in P8 ahead of Simon Morpe. Daryl Taylor will come through in P10 ahead of Jamie Bird and Ray Peasley. Richard Brown in P13. And then you've got Dave Kirkman still holding back. Phil Glover for P14. And Chris Kane a further few seconds back in P16. I'll tell you what, we might be having a bit of a battle going on here between Mark Witheridge and Jack James for P18 in the race. As they make their way down into the chicane, I think Matt Witheridge is just too far back. And Jack James should be able to hold on to his P18 spot. And Patrick Charlton will take P20. And that's Fiona Siddons, who I think has been lapped, as has Gavin Marsden. And the celebratory donuts will commence. But that is the race. Well, an entertaining race here at Road Atlanta for round 4 of the championship. And hello everyone. How's it all going? I hope your evenings are going well. And let's just see if let me just ask top 3 interviews. Let's see if anyone does want to join. Do you think the Lion enjoyed the race, folks? Honestly. Well-groomed Lion. Look at his hair. Just so silky smooth. Oh, Patrick Charlton is typing. We might be seeing Patrick Charlton joining us, which I would be very glad to see personally. because I don't know what happened to Patrick Charlton. Oh, and speaking of drivers joining us, Dominic Lang-Webb. Dominic, P3. I'm guessing that was not a result that you were expecting after the first couple of laps. Wait, sorry, 2 seconds, Dominic. I just have got the wrong audio settings. There we go, I can hear you now.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, no, I was just going to say it's kind of a race of attrition there. There was a lot of people spinning off left, right, and centre. So quite a bit of avoiding, but no, it was a good race.
You mentioned it was a war of attrition. Road Atlanta, not the easiest circuit to keep a car on, let alone a radical. How difficult was the circuit and what kind of challenges did the circuit pose?
It was quite difficult because there was a last-minute temperature change. So I think everybody was expecting it to be slightly different, but it's got so many blind corners that it's just keeping the consistency. If you keep it consistent, as you can tell with all the people that didn't manage that, and you touch the grass and you're off, it ruins your race. But keep it consistent, and yeah, great things can happen.
Well, you kept it consistent and you pick up the P3. Do you know what that means for you in terms of the championship?
I'm not too sure, actually. I think this is the third race so far, if I'm right in saying. My last two races weren't brilliant. I think we're allowed 2 drop weeks. So it stands me in good stead. But I'll have to just try and maintain that for the rest of the season, which is no small task.
So the bad luck's over and done with. Only the good luck now, right?
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Well, Dominic, thank you very much for joining me, and best of luck for the rest of the championship.
Nice one. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
That was Dominic Lang-Webb, the man who took a P3 in the race today. And now we have Frankie Dixon joining us. Frankie, P7. But what I do want to ask is what happened? Because you were right in the battle for the lead, and then the next time I looked, you had dropped down the order.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Yeah, it was a tough one. I'd got myself into the top 3 with the other 2 fast guys. Got a little bit of shaky leg syndrome. Was using a setup I'm not quite used to. Dom kindly posted a setup at the beginning of the practice session, which was very quick but a bit loose. So yeah, just overdriven a little bit and managed to lose the back end, and it was letting every car pass while I sat there until it was clear.
I mean, obviously, it's a big shame for you, and I'm sure you're somewhat kicking yourself for it. But until that point, it looked like you were having an absolutely fantastic battle right up at the front of the field.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely some of the most fun I've had in iRacing, battling with them guys. There's some very quick guys in this series. So, yeah, kicking myself a little bit, but P7, not the end of the world. Good fun chasing the couple of positions last 2 laps to get myself into P7. So, yeah, it was good fun.
Well, congrats on the P7 and the recovery drive, Frankie. Will we be seeing you next week?
Yes, I will be here next week, Mulkey. I'm not working, which is good.
Awesome. Well, we hope to see you next week, and hopefully we get to see you fighting for the lead all the way until the end.
Fingers crossed, pal. Thank you.
Cheers. That was Frankie Dixon, who finished the race in P7. Was having an absolutely fantastic battle right up at the front with the likes of Simon Edwards and James Child, and that's when we then had our weird ping spikes coming into play. And now I am joined by Dave Kirkman. And Dave, P14 for you. How was your race from your perspective? Dave, can you hear me? Okay, it seems that we can't quite hear Mr. Kirkman at the moment, so hopefully he can get his mic fixed and we can have our interview momentarily. But I think for Dave Kirkman, I think he was involved in quite a good battle with Phil Glover. The two of them seem to be pretty much glued to each other for quite a while in the race. At least every time I looked down the order, they seem to be battling. And Dave Kirkman has rejoined. Can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Dave. Dave, I was just saying, how was the race from your perspective, P14 in the end?
Yeah, it wasn't anywhere near as good as I expected it to be. I did quite a lot of practice this week, and I was down in the 14.8, so I thought that was going to be pretty good. But in the race, I couldn't get below 15s, and I think 15.3 was my fastest. And I just didn't, unfortunately, get the lap in qualifying I needed. And then, unfortunately, I got swiped off by Patrick on lap 11 into the wall, and had to go and fix for repairs, and that kind of put me down. But I started 14th and finished 14th, so not too bad at the end of the day.
And I mean, one thing that I do want to bring up is I think we heard, I think it was Dominic who actually said that there was a bit of a weather change just before the race. Is that something that you noticed? And if you did, how much of an effect did it have on the car and the track?
Well, I only joined the practice with about 5 minutes to go, I think, or 10 minutes to go. So I didn't really notice much. I know the temperature gets reset every session. So I think it went down. So it was quite hot at the end of practice, up to 30 degrees. And at the start of qualifying and the start of the race, it was 22, I think. So, which is the sort of level I was practicing at, to be honest. So that's what I was expecting. So for me personally, I didn't find that too much of a challenge. It was, I don't know why I just couldn't get in the groove. I should have been on earlier really to get myself kind of in there before the race. But yeah, it was a good result in terms of actually finishing, but a bad result in terms of where I expected to be. I was hoping to be in the top 10 really at the end. But yeah, unfortunately, if I just backed off a bit, maybe I would have, instead of going alongside Patrick into turn 2, then I would have been probably all right. But there you go, that's racing.
Well, I guess the silver lining is that you do have 2 drop rounds over the course of the season, so I'm sure we'll see you in fine form again next week.
I hope so. Yeah, yeah, it's a good series, this one. Very enjoyable, and I'm really starting to enjoy the Radical car as well as racing with the guys. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to hit on Patrick too much because it was a racing incident, but you know, most of the guys are all out there with the best of intentions, and you know, we all want to have a good, clean fight. And to be honest, actually, I was quite impressed on the first lap. Everyone seemed to be taking it easy, certainly from where I was. Anyway, I don't know behind me, but yeah, it was a good battle.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, Dave, and best of luck next week.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully, we'll have a better result next time.
And that was Dave Kirkman, who finished P14. And now we are joined by our celebrity of the day, Mr. Simon Edwards, our race winner. Simon, congratulations on your race win.
Thank you. I'm not sure I'm a celebrity, but yeah, thanks for that.
I mean,
I got a good
celebrity for
start
today.
Yeah. I'll take that. John just disappeared, so you know I'll steal him when I can. Yeah, off the start, I thought I'd made a big mistake because I'd got such a good start and then realised that the place I put the car wasn't a place that existed. So I nearly killed myself off the start and had to run on the grass a bit. But I just managed to pick them off one by one, and I wasn't expecting it really.
Well, I mean, you seem to be involved in a fantastic battle. It seemed to be about a 4-5-way battle for so long. How tricky was it to kind of keep the car in the right position for so long? Because it just seemed that whoever was running in second just had a free run and a free pass down into the chicane.
Yeah, that's it really. If you could get a close draft out of the hairpin, then and as long as you didn't run out of gears, then you could get a free pass. I mean, you could defend it if you really wanted to, but I wouldn't have defended it from the front if somebody had done it to me either. You know, it's not worth it in those first sort of 10, 15 laps. Start defending at the end.
And you mentioned start defending at the end. With a few laps to go, I think James Child was behind you and he lifted out. He opted just to sit behind you for those final couple of laps. What was going through your head at that point, and how were you thinking of, you know, trying to defend from him on the last lap when he presumably would have wanted to look for the move?
Yeah, I think I had less downforce than him on. I think so. I would have just gone to the middle of the track and either force him to go really, really tight into the last chicane or go to my outside. And I think I could have, then, it could have been either of us then for the win. So I wasn't going to defend too hard because, I'd rather finish than not finish at the moment to keep myself in this championship.
Not going to take the hero's death. Probably the smart decision over the course of a championship. But either way, Simon, congratulations on the win and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And that was Simon Edwards, our race winner from round 4 here at Road Atlanta. Next we have Fiona Siddons. Fiona, P22 for you. How was your race and how tricky was the circuit?
Yeah, the circuit is tricky. I had a good fun race, hovering between 20th and 22nd all the while and battling with your favourite car.
Indeed, yes. The good old Rothman's livery. I'm sorry, every time I see it, a smile just pops up on my face and it takes me back a few years.
Yeah, it's nice to see it out there, isn't it? It's a bit of a tag back to Ayrton Senna.
Yeah. And you were having a pretty good scrap with Gavin going to the end, but he managed to pip you. And I just want to ask, where did he get the move done, and how close was the battle between you two?
Yeah, the battle was very close. We was passing each other just about every lap. I lost it going into the chicane on the last lap. I had cars coming up to lap me, so I run a little wide to let them through and just lost control.
And we heard from quite a few drivers that the track today felt particularly tricky, and I know from my own experience in Mazdas that Road Atlanta is a tricky circuit. I can barely imagine how difficult it is in the radicals. What for you were kind of the trickiest parts of the circuit?
For me, the trickiest part was turn 3. It's hard to get your turning point right on that one.
Okay. Well, a P22 for you. Fiona, what can we expect from you next week?
Probably about the same. I just do the radicals for fun. My main concentration is the MX5 series.
Well, hopefully we get to see you maybe squeezing into the top 20 for next week. Fiona, thank you very much for joining me, and we hope to see you in action next week.
Yeah, thank you, Milky, and thank you for streaming it again.
No worries at all. And that was Fiona Siddons, who picked up P22 today. And I think that is all that we do have time for. I noticed Chris Bassett is still in a lobby voice by himself, so I'll just wait a bit just in case Chris will join us. Chris did finish in P6, and a bit of a lonely P6 as well for Mr. Bassett. But it does not seem that he is joining us. So with that, that is all that we do have time for. Apologies for the issues, which I think there are still some issues happening. Some frames being dropping. I think the audio is fine, which is what is important for the interviews at the very least. I have no idea what happened. Just Vodafone or some internet service provider deciding, you know what, I'm going to take a dip. I'm going to go on to break for a while. And, well, it didn't bode well for the stream. So apologies for that. Hopefully the stream will be back in full force for next week without any of these issues happening. But that's all for round 4 of the championship. Thank you again to Hi-Fi Lounge and HPE Automotive for helping us bring this stream to all of you. And if anyone is watching in the chat, then do make sure to check out both HPE Automotive, Hi-Fi Lounge, and if you want to get involved with the Radical series, you can do that as well. The link to that is in the description, and you can sign up, and hopefully we can see you in the future races over the course of the season. I've been Yusuf Milky Serial Bin Sahel, and I'll catch everyone next week, same time, Thursday evening,